Joining us next on our Time Space Visualiser this week is an actress who has graced both stage and screen in a career spanning many years. Best known to all Doctor Who fans as Eldrad in the 1976 story The Hand of Fear, which coincidentally has just been re-released as part of the season 14 Blu-ray set, it's my great pleasure to welcome Judith Paris today. Hello there, Judith. How are you doing?
Hello, Jason. Hi. And hello, everybody.
And how's life treating you? How's the lockdown?
The lockdown is just beginning to get boring now. I've had enough. I want to move on. I think 7 weeks is quite enough. Suddenly the thought of maybe 7 months is not such a good idea. And I think that's why I woke up this morning not feeling particularly good. I suddenly thought, my God, do you think we'll see family at Christmas? And that really scared me. That really scared me because I've always gone in for huge family gatherings at Christmas. It's the big festival for us. And the thought of not seeing them and not being with the grandchildren and, you know, just not being with all my family is just so dreadful. But we're all in the same boat. Across the world.
Yes, indeed. It is hard, and I think what makes it even harder is it's that sort of lack of being able to see your family and your friends in person. I mean, to be honest, I miss the laughs, I miss the cutches, yes. I miss just the general fun of being with friends, and yes. I'm hoping that whilst we have to be sensible about it, I'm hoping it's not that far off before we're all back together again. No. And obviously, the lockdown for you means that there's not an awful lot of work coming in. I wouldn't have thought. Nope. The phone's not ringing.
No, it's for the theatre. It's a complete disaster. It is an utter and absolute disaster because, quite frankly, who wants to get on a bus or a train or a tube and go to a theatre and sit with 1,000 or 500 or even 100 other people in a hot, sweaty place watching people? It's just not part of where we should be at the moment. Films is different. You know, television, they're beginning to get very inventive with television. My agent phoned me. She phoned me the other day and she said, darling, do you have any children staying at home? And I said, no, sadly. It's just me and my husband. Well, does he act? No, he's a film editor, so that's not going to work. Oh, she said, what a bore, what a bother. Because I've been approached by some TV company. They've got a script and they want for you to shoot your own film in your own house, with, you know, maybe 1 or 2 members of your family taking part. And I thought, I can't oblige. So this is going on now. This sort of thing is happening right now. Do you know, I'm rather hoping that I could get my monologue on because I've got a show. I've got a one-woman show about Marie Tussaud, or Two Swords, as they call her now, as my son used to call her, Mrs. Two Swords, Madame Tussaud. And I wrote a play about, a one-woman play about Madame Tussaud and her life, and that would be absolutely ideal. So if there's any television director out there listening right now,
it does sound like being the most perfect thing that would probably work absolutely in inventing.
Well, it's just me and a guillotine. You know, it's.
Do you have one of those handily lying around there?
I've got what they call a gobo, which is a funny little metal thing which you put on in front of a light, and it casts the shadow of a guillotine. It scares the pants off house guests.
I'm sure it does, actually. I mean, I fear a little bit for the industry because, you know, obviously the technicians, the actors, the actresses, all the front of house staff, everybody out of work right now, and it's going to be such a struggle to actually, irrespective of the social distancing side of things, when the business does start ramping back up again, particularly in London, it's going to be very difficult to get things going again, isn't it?
Well, I'm talking about theatres in London, I specifically in London, because we've just got a proliferation of theatres in London, that largely they're peopled by tourists. And what tourists is the West End going to get coming in for the foreseeable future? And who will have the money to pay West End prices? I mean, that's the thing. And going on the underground. in the rush hour, because the underground at the moment is a real no-go area, because they've got a Sunday service. And so the people who do go on the underground really have to watch social distancing, which they can't. So it's a bit of a potluck. A friend of mine phoned me up the other day with coronavirus, said he'd gone on the tube, and he's absolutely convinced that he got it from going on the tube. He had to go and see something or other a month ago, just before the lockdown. And anyway, so, and you had the same experience, didn't you?
Yes, I did indeed.
And you had exactly the same experience.
In fact, very similar. In fact,
yes.
I went to London, and I'm convinced that I picked up the symptoms when I was in London. So it wasn't quite as a good trip as I thought it was going to be. But hey, these are strange days, and I think hopefully, fingers crossed.
Move on.
Fingers crossed, we're turning the corner a little bit.
I think television and film will recover much more quickly than the theatre, which is very sad. It's so sad for so many of us,
Well, we're here to we're here as part of our Time Space Visualiser events. Now, this is an opportunity for us to bring Doctor Who fans together from all around the world to effectively partake in a virtual Doctor Who convention. So we've become a little inventive as well. We can't have our normal events, but it's a great opportunity to bring the whole sort of the world of fandom together and have an opportunity to say hello to a few people. And it's great. We've been watching we've done 6 or 7 of these now, and it's great. You're seeing a whole little community things springing up around the edges of it. So it's great. I think we're doing a good job. Hope people keep telling us we are. But it's a great opportunity to talk to the likes of yourself, Judith, and particularly in particular to talk about your time on Doctor Who, actually, which was back in 1976. A year of lots of sun, a bit like it is today for us. And you were cast in the part of Eldrad. How did that come about for you?
The agent called, said, you have a meeting, you have an interview, a meeting with a director called Lenny Mayne at the BBC Television Centre, and off I went. And we immediately bonded. I think it was largely because we'd both been dancers. He'd been a dancer 100 years before, and so had I, and so we kind of spoke the same language, and it was just so nice. All I can remember of working with Lenny was easiness and happiness, and just enjoying the script and him and his direction and the cast and everything. We just had such fun. We had fun, and we were all very naughty. And he treated us, Lenny May had to treat us like a sort of anxious mother, partly because he had to kind of stopping us laughing all the time. We just loved it. Yes.
I mean, he's certainly a larger than life character, Lenny, and everybody talks very, very fondly of him, those that worked with him.
It was such a shock when he went. Such a shock. What a tragic end. I mean, he didn't deserve that. Yeah.
But it always helps, I think, a story or a production in that way, where you've got a director that's particularly enthusiastic, particularly bouncy, and particularly into just making sure everyone's having a good time around it. I think it makes the experience good for somebody like yourself, a guest artist coming into the sort of family fold, because it's always difficult when you join a long-standing cast, particularly with some of the characters in that cast as well. How did you get on with Tom? How was Tom to work with?
Got on like a house on fire with Tom. He was very naughty. He was terribly, terribly naughty. Yes, he's kind of like an overgrown schoolboy a lot of the time. When I finally climbed into that costume, I couldn't actually look down. I couldn't, because of the rock crystals and the hat and things. I couldn't peer down to see what my feet were doing. So I just had to look ahead all the time. And he had this very naughty habit of trailing that long, long scarf just where I was walking. And he tripped me up about 4 times. I used to get, the wardrobe mistress was very cross about this, because, you could damage her wonderful piece of her creation by me crashing to the ground in it. And anyway, he was lovely. And we got on so well. And Liz Sladen, lovely Liz. Yes. Yeah, and she's
Of
gone.
course, it was Liz's last story.
Yes.
Was there any sense of sadness around the set at all? Was it still, or was it just?
I think she was wanting to move on to other things. I mean, we'd first got to know each other when in Manchester, in a theatre production. I went to see her with a mutual friend, and we spent quite a bit of time together after that. And afterwards, of course, she lives in the same borough, West London, where you're seeing me now in sunny West London. And I think she wished to do other things with, she was a very talented actress, and she was such a good actress. Yes.
Sadly missed by us all. And there's the Blu-ray set, as I alluded to at the top of the piece. The Blu-ray set for your appearance on Doctor Who has now come out, and there's a very, very touching documentary about her life. It's a really well done piece. Brought a tear to my eye last night, I've got to be honest. One of the most fondly remembered, I think, out of all the companions. Yeah, that loss is felt.
I think do you know what it is? I've been trying to work things out, how young actresses, what she had was a wonderful sense of vulnerability. You wanted to protect her. It's an attribute sadly lacking with a lot of young actors now. They're also kind of aggressive. It's what my daughter calls passive aggressive. Don't be so passive aggressive, she shouts at me. I said, am I being passive aggressive? What's passive aggressive? I don't understand these names. And I suppose an awful lot. It's being feisty. It's not being feminine. It's being kind of quite butch and things. And a lot of young actors are being feisty things. But so when they get into a part where you want to feel for them, they have to work a bit harder. But Liz just had it naturally. She was so vulnerable, and she was such a darling, and it shone out. Those eyes, you always go to the eyes. You always go to the eyes. And she allowed us into her soul,
She did, and she was under the spell, if you like, of Eldrad through the first couple of episodes, and she's carrying the box with the hand in around, and
yes,
she just looks she's just perfect in the way that she's played or portrayed that in that particular way. She looks a little bit lost because she's just walking around this whole nuclear plant with this box in her hand, but
vulnerable. You want to help her. You automatically warm to her. You think, oh, don't anything awful happen to this person, please, don't you? It's
you do indeed. Sadly missed. But going back to the costume,
yes.
That must have been a bit of a nightmare.
How long did you spend in the
makeup chair for that?
It was one of those moments where you think, I'm not going to be able to sit in this costume because of the rock crystals. And if I can't sit in it, I'm going to have to, how am I going to rest? So I had to lean myself up against a wall, because there was no other way of getting a rest. Can you hear that plane? That's a plane. We're just at the end of the runway at Heathrow here. And I don't know, there's an awful lot of flights coming in and out of Heathrow at the moment.
It shouldn't be, is all I'll say.
I don't understand what's going on. I go into the garden and shout at them. No, but yes, the costume. It was very difficult to eat or drink in it because I couldn't go to the loo in it either, because I was completely stitched up in it. Literally, they stitched me up in it.
And you talk about the eyes.
Yes.
The way that the makeup was done, it really made your eyes quite very expressive.
Yes.
In the costume, I felt.
Yeah, no, and yes, I was amazed when I saw because when you're in that kind of costume and in that kind of setup, you have no idea what you look like, none at all. You just go for it, and the costume helps with the character. It really does. In most cases, when you perform, give me a good costume, and I can give you a good part. But it was quite a shock seeing me on screen after it was all over. I thought, my God, that is terrifying.
Yes, I mean, a very ambitious costume. but a very beautiful costume as well.
I think I'm the only, we were talking about this. Am I the only female? Am I the first female alien? I think I'm the first female alien.
Ooh,
apart from some sort of saggy persons.
Now you've put me on the spot. I couldn't answer it, but I have to say, yes.
Well, I think I might have been one of the prettier first female aliens.
I'm going to give you that one.
She was quite attractive, wasn't she?
She was indeed, absolutely. There was nothing left to the imagination in the figure and form of the costume either, was there?
No, not at all. Not at all. But Stephen Thorne didn't. I thought, I'm turning into that. I thought, I don't think so.
It is a huge contrast. I'd forgotten it until last night when I watched it again, how much of a contrast it is between the two, the regenerated Eldrad.
Yes, I'm much more attractive than Stephen Thorne, I have to say. And I told him when we last met, and sadly he's no longer with us anymore.
Again.
But I think we were doing a convention and together, and we were coming back on the train, and we got a little merry about this. I suppose it was one of those stop-start jobs trains, you know, and I think there was a bar quite near on the train, and I think we had one or two gin and tonics just to pass away the time.
They're the best kind of train journeys.
Yes, but it was fun. It was fun.
I mean, actually, it was quite odd, actually, because it was an odd split during that final episode. Did you get a chance at all to talk to him before he became regenerated Eldrad, or was it literally a case of you did your last scene and then he just came along and took the role over?
I'm afraid it was like that. Yes, yes. We didn't have much conversation. No.
Almost two people playing two different parts. Then it felt a bit like.
Well, it's pretty much like that on film sets nowadays. You don't rehearse, you don't meet anybody. You go on and say, hello, how are you doing? Is that the bed scene? We're doing our bed scene. Is that the bed we're doing our scene on? And, you know, the niceties of getting to know you, it's gone completely.
Yeah, it's almost, because you don't get that. I mean, in the days when you did Hand of Fear, you got sort of like almost a 2-week slot where you did a week of rehearsals in the studio and then some more rehearsals in the studio. And these days you almost walk onto set, rehearse it, and play it almost in one go.
Absolutely. I did that recently. I did a Scandinavian television serial just before Christmas, where I played a contract killer, I have to say, a white Zimbabwean contract killer called Mindy Boom Boom Vandergraaf. And I climbed off the plane. They threw a costume at me. I was straight onto set and playing these very complicated scenes with a load of Swedish actors I'd never met. Fortunately, they could speak English, but it was one of the weirdest, flying out to Stockholm and suddenly finding yourself in the snow on a set, talking with all these people you'd never met, you'd never seen, and playing this really rather complicated series of scenes, 16 very difficult scenes. And then they put me on a plane at the end of the week and sent me back again, and that was the end of that.
They did a week of filming in Oxfordshire for the Hand of Fear, and they only managed to get probably an hour's worth of footage, and then you fly out and do that. It's phenomenal the way it's changed, isn't it?
So quick now, and what you have to do, what you really, really, really have to do, is to learn your script inside out and back to front. So because there's no rehearsal, and they just literally do a rehearsal for the camera, and action, and you're on. And so you have to know exactly who you are, what you're playing. You can't be bothering about characterization.
You turn that on now. That's what it's all about.
Well, yes. And I must say, in my experience of life, I've never known what it's like to be a contract killer. So I really had to make that bit up.
You'll be scaring me again. No, you haven't got any guns underneath the table then.
Very scary, this character. She's really scary. I'm hoping it's going to come here. I'm so hoping this Scandi television serial's come over here. It's a 6-parter. It's ever so good. It's very naughty and very, very fast moving. And I'm hoping that it'll get on Netflix or something.
I was going to say possibility of Netflix or Amazon possibly.
I hope so, because it's a good time. Nothing's being made at the moment, and they got in just on the wire. there.
Yeah, they're going to be, I think, as time passes, I think Netflix and Amazon are going to come into their own, I think, a lot more.
Yes.
And, you know, we're going to be a bit short of new material. So you're right. I think they could look further afield. It could be a possibility of it coming in. I'd like to see it, actually. It'd be kind of good if they did.
It's called We Got This. And it's all about the assassination of their prime minister. 36, 37 years ago, he was gunned down coming out of a cinema. And it's why and how. Of course, it's all about conspiracy theories, because they've never found the man who did it, or men. They think it was two shooters, a bit like Kennedy. Do you know? And it might have been a CIA plot. You never know.
Or you never know.
Somebody else.
You never know these things. By the sounds of that one just got into the can just before
just got in. Yes.
Was there any other projects you had that were coming up that potentially are put on hold?
Well, I've been making a feature film last year. There's still a couple of scenes left to shoot, and that's had to be put on ice. Really, that is because, of course, the film sets are lots and lots and lots of people. I came in just under the wire. Fortunately, I did The Crown. I did a couple of days on The Crown, literally a fortnight before lockdown, and so that'll be going out, I think, in August.
Yes, that'll be the fourth season of The Crown.
We got it done. We literally got it done. My character came in right at the end of series 4. And so the filming finished the following week. So that was lucky. But theatre, no, nothing, you know, which is sad, my friend. But I've been writing, so I'm keeping in touch that way.
Fabulous. So you've been using the downtime then to good effect.
Yes. Yes, because there's a limit to how much you can walk around your local park without going completely mad. You could go 6 o'clock in the morning, or you can go at 12 o'clock, or you can walk clockwise, or you can walk anti-clockwise, or you can walk in the rain or in the sun. But essentially, it's the same damned walk.
It's a good job. We've got all these things to keep us occupied and interested. The writing sounds interesting. Is it anything that you're potentially going to look at getting published?
Well, no, it's a play. It's a 3-hander play. I've written it. It's quite a heavy plot line, but I think an awful lot of people are writing heavy plays. There must be something about coronavirus. It's kind of a gloomy. You know, I'm laughing. I'm making light of it, but I cannot believe how dreadful it must be, and my heart goes so out to people who've lost relatives and dear ones and friends to this, and especially with a relative. And, you know, the thought of my daughter, for example, works, and her partner, they work out of Northwick Park Hospital, which is one of the big London hospitals, where it's a pretty epicenter place for poor people, poor patients, and she's working in and out of there. And I think if she gets it, I won't be able to be with her. If she becomes ill, I won't be able to be with her partner, you know. And these are people who are, and if I get it, they wouldn't be, one would die alone, which is the most horrific thought. It is
horrendous thought.
And the whole world is feeling this. So, we're not alone here. I just hope that we have a global initiative, you know, to crack this.
Well, fingers crossed. I think, yes. You know, looking at the rates, the way it's going, we seem to be plateauing. So there's a corner, at least, I think, being turned somewhere here, and hopefully, yes. You know, we'll start to see a decrease in the sort of fatalities, and, you know, people will hopefully start to return to some sort of a normality of some sort. Yes. Commendable. The people on the front line are doing a fantastic job.
They're wonderful people.
About it.
Wonderful people.
And they deserve absolutely the recognition, yes. And hopefully that recognition after the event as well, because there needs to be a long, hard inward look here at how we've been treating the NHS, I think, in the UK, without question.
Well, yes. So my daughter, for example, didn't have any personal equipment, PPE, for the first 3 weeks, which was inexcusable. She was wearing marigold gloves. And
Well, I'm lost for words. Is all I'll say on it. Time has beaten us, and
that was short and sweet, Jason. I thought you were going to ask me lots more.
no, time has beaten us actually, and it's been a real pleasure to talk to you today. Kind of a nice, relaxed chat today, which is the way I like to run these. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Stay safe, look after yourself. Hopefully, we get back to normal at some point. Appreciate your time today.
And stay safe to you, Jason. Take care. And to everyone who's watching, God bless and keep safe. Bye-bye.